just my life changed, like completely. Everything changed. I moved to San Antonio from Florida at the beginning of last year because my lab moved here from the University of Florida. I'm doing my PhD in medical science. Our lab studies lung cancer, and we relocated last year. And so a few months after that, I just I had a checkup, and I did all my blood work, and everything was fine. And then probably a couple months after that, I went from going to the gym every day, able to, run and exercise and do everything. And then going from that to just not being able to walk from the parking lot into my building at work and not climbing a flight of stairs. Just getting, like, if I try to lift something, I have to sit 10-15 minutes and recover. Went to the doctor. I went to my primary care doctor. They ordered some blood tests, and they came back showing just pan-neutropenia, just no white blood cells left, no platelets, nothing. So I went to the hospital, and they admitted me from there. And then my first stint in the hospital from there was 35 days, where they diagnosed me. They did some tests like the FISH panel, and they identified the Philadelphia-like translocation that basically ruled out the ability to do the standard chemo treatment. And they said that they would just do 2 rounds of chemo and then try to get me to the transplant. The first round, I didn't really have too many side effects. The second round, I started getting just like hair loss, just terrible mouth sores, so it makes it really hard to eat or drink anything, and just feeling really lethargic and just no energy. And that's been the good thing about the immunotherapy, is that there's very few side effects, and I've been able to go back to lab and go about my life.
How about long-term side effects?
From the chemo included infertility, but and that was a concern at that point. But then they said for the transplant, there's a 100% chance, because they have to do radiation on the testicles. They do total body radiation, and you have to preserve a sperm sample before you start any of the treatments. And then if you want to start a family like I do, once I finish school, then basically, like, I have 6 vials saved over at the doctor's office, and I have 6 shots at it.
So at what point did you see the need to get some help to cover the cost of these procedures?
Yeah, so initially I was in the hospital, and then the fertility doctor came to see me. We discussed the options about the family preservation, saving a sperm sample. The initial payment was, I think, like $400, which at that time I just went ahead and paid it. And then that was for 6 months of storage, but the storage costs are something like $700 for a year, going, in the future. And just, I'm a graduate student. Like, I don't make a ton of money. Like, I make enough to live, but, all the costs that are associated with trying to live with cancer diagnosis and treatment, in terms of, the expenses associated with being in the hospital all the time, and then things like medicine, co-pays, stuff like that. It's so hard to cover that, and then also, like, just buy groceries for the month. The way I found out about this organization is that I asked the doctor at the fertility clinic if there was any options for, like, helping to cover the bill for the sample storage, and she sent me a bunch of links. I read a lot of them. A lot of them were, like, female focused, which is fine, but they just don't have the resources to help everyone that reaches out to them. So I reached out to a bunch of them. Most of them just didn't respond. Some of them, did come back and say that they just weren't able to help. And then luckily you responded, and was very, very appreciative that you were able to help. people don't understand the just sort of the ancillary effects of a cancer diagnosis. You know, in young people, the cancer diagnosis, even if you have family around, it's still very isolating because not a lot of people understand what you're going through. The time you spend in the hospital or in treatment, you know, like I was just in the infusion center today and it's sitting there for a few hours. You know, it just gets old, you know. And so it's really good that there are groups out there like this that offer, I guess, the social support and the, you know, just, you know, have an open ear for people who are going through this and understand who have been through it themselves. For me, I would say just get used to, so to start, I guess I would tell someone who was newly diagnosed, like, the life in the hospital isn't going to be fun. Try to figure out something to do to pass the time. So for me, I started building a lot of models in the hospital. That was really helpful. I was able to do some computer work for my dissertation project in the hospital. But just try to maintain what you can from your previous life during treatment, then modify it however you need to do it. But just have something to just have a routine or have something to stick to during your transition into your new life as a cancer patient, because it's a big transition.
Was it difficult for you, the transition of being independent to become dependent?
That was a big one for sure. So being in the hospital, having to have everyone just be dependent on everyone for everything is not, it's not fun, and it's not an easy transition. Just something small like that is something that people don't understand.
What about becoming dependent financially?
Yeah, for sure, because I've been a graduate student for a while. Like, I've been independent, you know, from my parents for a good amount of time, and then to go back to needing help from people, and it wasn't an issue of like, it would be nice if I had extra money. It was like, I needed that extra money. I needed that help from people, because otherwise I wasn't going to pay my bills, or I wasn't going to buy groceries. I was I don't know if I would say hopeless, but I thought I was dying, like in September when I went to the hospital. Like, everything happened so quickly. Most of the providers were really good, but some of them were not, and they did not say the right things. I got a nurse that said, she looked at my blood tests, and then she read that I was in my bio that I was a scientist, and then she's like, "Oh, so you know what this means?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I know it's not good." And then she goes, "Yeah, I had 3 friends die of leukemia." I was like, that is not what I want to hear, you know. And that was like at 2 a.m. after I had just been admitted. I spent the whole day, almost 24 hours in the emergency room before that. Then I finally get wheeled up to a room at 2 a.m, and then, you know, they're going through the questionnaire of like, the admission questionnaire, and then, you know, mid-conversation, she's like, "Yeah, this isn't good." I was like, "I know." No, I just really appreciate the work that you guys are doing, because, like I said, there's not a lot of people doing this, and it's people should know more about it, and there should be more, frankly, a lot more support for it.
We are the AYA Cancer Foundation of San Antonio.